Ooh. I know. I got dances, but I got dances. But it's not why we're here. You know why we're here. Probably not because this is a lot, kind of a bit lot off schedule. But today is a really freaking rainy day. And I'm not having that. So, me and you, gonna go right over there. And guess what? We're gonna turn the lights off. We're gonna get our blanket, our doggy blanket. Yeah. We're gonna get our snacks, our tea, and most of all, we're gonna watch scary videos. You prepared? I'm prepared. You prepared? I'm prepared. We're super prepared. Let's just get it done. Blanket, check. Light, check. So I've got my window closed, main light off, and only my lamp on. I hope that's fine. I also need to tamper with the sound just a bit because it's up quite a bit loud. If this one's too quiet, I'm really sorry, and the next one will be hopefully prestigioso. But don't know if you knew this, but it's like a really, really rainy day. Today is a really freaking rainy day. So what I was cooking up in my big brain, my shoulder really hurts. What I was cooking up in my big brain is we can watch some true horror animations about rainy days. Probably a bad idea since it's a rainy day. But nah. We're going to be returning back to my boy MJV Animations. I don't really know if I need... This is like a me and you talk if you end up seeing this video. MJV Animations. I don't know if I need like permission from you to react to your videos. If I do, I'm really sorry and I would love to gain your permission. If not, totally understand. I'll move on to the next. But without further more ado, that's a word, we are going to get into the video. MJV Animations will be in the description, by the way, their title. Okay, I'm upside down. Hello. Okay. Just another shout out to MJV Animations because I freaking love your style of animating. Full glaze, I love it. And I will never stop loving it. Without further ado, skidoosh.
I live on the outskirts of a mid-sized town in Wyoming. The whole reason I live here is because owning a huge plot of land isn't as impossible of a task as it can be in most other states. My house is small, but it was cozy enough for living alone. This happened 4 years ago, in 2019. It was spring, and we were going through a month of pouring rain almost every single day. It was a Sunday, and I was home from work.
I'm gonna pause it right there. I'm really sorry. But, bro, that's actually the most relatable thing in the world about how I said it's spring and it's just pouring rain. It's June. And it will not stop raining. I mean, we get a sunny day every 3 to 5 business years at this point.
Spending the day watching TV and resting. Sometime around 6 or 7, I got an unexpected knock at my door. I barely heard it through the rain, and when I answered the door, I was even more surprised to see it was some random guy. Not a mailman or anything of the sorts.
Dang.
Someone coming all the way out onto my property without notice was very unusual, being that it was far out of the way.
"How can I help you?"
I said. The guy, looking somewhere in his late 20s, said he'd been camping out in the woods nearby and had gotten into some trouble and needed a place to stay for the night.
Oh,
With the location...
shoot. I forgot to check the snacks. Check. Alright, we're good.
Of my house, if he wasn't lying, then showing up at my doorstep would make sense because I was the closest place within the woods by at least 5 or 6 miles. It was also pouring out, which made me feel even worse for him, but it still didn't take away from the possible danger of letting a stranger into my home. I offered him a phone call to get a ride into town, but the guy denied my offer. After bluntly saying he couldn't stay here, the guy walked off. I watched him go down the dirt road a little ways, then he veered off and walked into the woods. As odd as that was, I didn't have it on my mind for more than a few minutes before I was back to watching TV. I didn't check the time very often, but it had to be at least 2 hours later and well into the night when I saw an orange glare coming from the window by my backyard. I got up and moved the curtain. Through the rain and fog, I saw a campfire right in the middle of the woods outside my house. It was small, flickering under a large tree as the rain poured down on it. Standing next to it, there was the outline of a figure holding something. I couldn't tell though if he was facing my house or into the woods. After a moment, I closed the curtains and picked up my phone, calling the police to let them know about this person outside my house. I knew it would take probably an hour for them to get here, and whoever was out there wasn't doing me any harm, but at the very least I wanted them away from my house before I went to bed. Once I got off the phone with the officer, I checked the window again. The fire was still burning lightly, but the figure wasn't there. Then I heard footsteps coming toward the house.
Are your double C cooked, my guy?
I ran to the other window and caught sight of him walking past with a hunting rifle in his hand before he turned the corner and went to the front door. He banged on it a few times, then it went quiet.
Oh boy.
I grabbed my self-defense handgun from the hallway closet and hid around a wall,
That guy's not playing
still
around.
trying to process the situation I was in. He hit the door again. This time I could tell it was with the stock of his rifle, nearly breaking a panel out of the door. In this moment, I could only think that I had to try to deter him immediately before it becomes life or death for one of us. I shot around toward the edge of the door frame, deafening myself for a second as the shot rang through the house.
Dang.
When my hearing came back, all I heard was the rain pouring down. No footsteps, banging, or yelling. I gathered up courage after 5 minutes of no sounds and
Don't tell
looked
me.
out the peephole,
Okay.
seeing an empty porch, and outside in the yard were
It'd be hilarious if he was just aiming it right there. It's just a bang! You're gone, bro.
clear footprints going away from the house.
Be for
He
real.
must have run
You
right
cannot see
after
the
the
footprints
shot
from
during the
there.
couple seconds I couldn't hear. Police did a thorough search and found some strange details. Out by where the campfire was, they
Yeah.
found a duffel bag with
Yeah.
evidence of it having been buried nearby and likely dug up just hours before the attack. What they told me is that it was most likely a burglary kit, or possibly even a murder kit, that was planted in advance with the intent to be dug up and used later on.
Wow.
This means whoever attacked me had planned it and had been right outside my house at least once before that night. Why he attacked me specifically is
the
not
heck?
known, and who and where he is currently is still no closer
My boy's a samurai.
to being figured out than it was 4 years ago. I still live in the same house and worry every day that he might come back.
Oh, he's coming back. Shut up. I don't know how I feel about that one. Like, it was okay, but it wasn't juicy. It didn't get the juices. Like, so, the guy outside of his house, that part was like really kind of scary. He just saw him walking around with a gun. He was like, he had a rifle and knocked on my door. Like, That part wasn't that freaky, bro. Like, he could have at least broken in or something and, like, strapped you down to the bed or, like, you know. I'm just saying. Okay, what am I even saying?
I was 22 at the time and living in a very small one-bedroom house in the cheapest area of my city. After work on a Friday night, I hopped online to game with a bunch of my friends.
What is
It was the perfect night for staying up late, with heavy downpour outside and no work or school the next day. We played for
that's the
probably 2
best.
hours before a sudden sound had me put everything on pause for a minute. It was a thump
makes me wanna eat a
sounding
cracker.
like it was upstairs. My initial concern was a possible leak in the roof caused by the rainfall, so I went up to look. The only rooms upstairs were the single bedroom and a half bathroom, and neither of them had any signs of leaks anywhere, so I ran back down and got back online with my friends. I was on for a while, only getting off at 2 a.m. because everyone else went to bed. I shut everything off and sat on the couch with some snacks while I watched YouTube on my phone.
Watching me.
10 minutes in, I
Yeah.
heard another thump. It was from upstairs again, but it was so muffled that it almost sounded like it was on the roof or something. I did an even more thorough
probably just
search of
hail.
both my bedroom and the bathroom up there, but there wasn't anything showing itself to be the cause of the sound. I was sure it wasn't thunder either, because it vibrated through the walls like something literally hitting the house. After 10 minutes of looking around, I was so determined to figure it out that I put on my shoes and went out into the rain to see if there was something more noticeable from outside.
Your double C cooked.
At first I saw nothing of significance, but then I noticed a tree branch getting pretty close to the side of my house.
Okay.
It was a large and sturdy branch though, that was a good 3 or 4 feet away from the siding, and even in the rain, it wasn't really swaying all that much. It seemed unlikely that it could reach the side and bang up against the side of the house. As I looked at it though, I realized there was a small window on the house that the tree kind of covered up. It was higher than my bedroom window, meaning it had to be an attic. I had no idea there was an attic at this house. The hatch
My
was
bro.
definitely nowhere noticeable, and the roof wasn't a steep slope, so it didn't look like there would even be room for one. This hidden window was the first clue I'd ever seen to indicate there being an attic. I went inside, even more curious than I was before, and started searching for this hatch that I had to have somewhere. It took a minute, but I found it inside my bedroom closet.
Dang.
It was small and perfectly smooth with the ceiling, basically blending in aside from the tiny gaps from where it opens. I stood up on a box and pulled it down, releasing a rusty ladder from the opening. Immediately, I was hit with a rotten smell, followed by another thump sound.
And that's when he called the cops. And that's when I call for backup, bro.
From below, I could tell the attic was extremely short, maybe 2 feet tall at most. I climbed up carefully and looked into this tiny space, basically a wide, dark tunnel, and at the end by the
Okay.
window,
Oh. Oh no. No, I swear I was looking down for like a second and then I looked back up and I'm. No, that actually. Okay, I can't talk. That actually put chills down my skin, bro. Ugh.
I could make out a figure, ducked down on all
Okay. Hold on, that's gonna have to come off.
fours and looking straight at me. I almost fell off the ladder, trying to jump down and run away. I heard them shuffling around as I got my phone and left the house, calling 911 in my driveway. The cops got
What the heck? Yo, whose grandma is in their attic, bro?
there and detained the man,
Somebody get you a Grammy.
who was just some homeless person. Apparently he
that's a
climbed the
man?
tree up to the window and made his way in, staying up there for at least a week without me having noticed.
My boy.
The absurdity of it all was almost unbelievable. I moved out very soon after that, and every house since I've always checked the attics. But the one thing that has stayed with me is the image of that man at the end of the attic, on his hands and knees, staring at me with eyes resembling both fear and anger.
Gosh. No, that one was good. I liked that one a lot. That one was really, really good. I can't lie. That one makes the rainy days good. That one brings a vibe to the rainy days.
In my mid-20s, I worked at a retail
You know what? That actually reminds me. I have an attic right next to my room. There's like no way really to get up there. We don't have like a ladder or anything, but well, it's not necessarily an attic, but we do have a big storage room that looks like an attic. Oh my gosh, the scariest thing in the world. And that reminds me, I have another story of my own. If you just want to buckle up real fast and listen to my story, but if not, skip. I don't really care. I do care. Please stay. Please stay. Please stay. Okay, but all I remember is going to sleep in my bed, this bed right over here with my chicken and my dog blanket, just going to bed. All I remember is I thought it was a dream, but I woke up pitch black in my room. It usually isn't pitch black in my room. I usually have the TV on or like a small light somewhere, like just a small blue light. But mainly because I'm a huge sissy and I'm scared of the dark as frick. But I woke up pitch black, and it's happened before, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna hide under the blanket and find my phone so I can just like pull it out and be like, spirits, where are you? The weird thing was I was standing straight up. Like I was standing straight up. I wasn't on a bed, and there was no bed anywhere like next to me. So I was like, okay, what's going on? This was actually really freaky. So part of me was like, okay, this is a dream, so I'm just gonna try and like freak myself out or something, like wake up in my bed. I was not asleep. It was real and I was awake. And I didn't know this at the time, but I was just like running into wall, because I couldn't see anything and I was freaking out, and it was just in a pitch black room that I felt like I've never been in before. But eventually, when I was like kind of shuffling around, I saw like a little, what looked like a door that was like cracked open, like in the pitch blackness. I know it's kind of hard to imagine. Long hallway, and I see a door at the end kind of open. That sounds really scary, and it really was. But I was like, okay, run. So I ran out of there. I looked back. I was in another room. I looked back, turned the light on. I was in my storage room. In my storage room, that is, like, picture an attic. Picture an attic. Pitch black. Nothing. And it was terrifying. That's all I can say. It was terrifying. But the way I got there was I have a really bad sleepwalking habit. So yeah, either that or I'm possessed. But that was my story. That kind of reminded me of
store as the overnight manager. It wasn't a big place, and the only reason I was technically a manager was because I'd be the only overnight worker. So, I was in charge of checking stock, filling shelves, and sometimes receiving order shipments. I was very satisfied with the job and never found myself hating the work. And up until this, I hadn't had anything really happen. It was a weekday night, and a storm was just setting in as I started my shift. Over the first hour of being there, the rain had picked up, and the wind was hitting the building much harder than before, making a lot of noise.
freaky out
I
rain.
was filling the shelves for the first 2 hours, trying to get the time-consuming tasks out of the way first. As I was in the aisle, though, I heard a thud sound resonating through the building. It sounded like it came from the back of the store in the warehouse section, where our delivery bay was.
Could be anything.
I walked over and saw the solid metal back door that truck drivers use to get in when making deliveries. The more I thought about it, the more I convinced myself that the thud sounded like a bang at this door, as if a driver was trying to make a delivery. but there were none scheduled for tonight.
Then don't open the door.
I opened the door and was met with a face full of cold rain and wind. I stuck my head out briefly to look down at the shipping bay and saw no trucks, so I closed the door and dried off.
This guy's gonna get robbed.
While walking back to the aisle, I assumed the noise was just the building having shifted a bit from the wind, or maybe just some strange sounding thunder that I hadn't noticed before. I continued working for another full hour before taking a lunch break in the back office, spending maybe 15 minutes there before heading back. But while I was walking through the store, I got this strange feeling, like everything had gone silent aside from the rain ticking on the roof. It gave me chills, and as I reached the end of the aisle, I saw something that made my heart almost stop. Right next to my cart, halfway down, was a line of wet shoe prints through the aisle. I approached it without
probably
even
just curious,
thinking
brother.
and tried to figure out how this was even possible. I followed them down to the front of the
Dang.
store until I saw so many watery prints going all over that it was impossible to follow. And honestly, horrifying to know that they'd walked around the entire place. I ran back to the office and locked myself inside, calling the police and waiting.
I feel like that's just
As I sat there, I only got more scared as I couldn't see outside the office door, and the rain pouring on the building was too loud for me to hear anything else. After 10 minutes, the operator that had me on hold came back on the phone and said the police were right outside the building. I quickly got up and opened the door, and right on the ground was another set of watery shoe prints alongside mine, leading right up to the office I was in. I sprinted to the front and hurried to let the police in. In their search, they didn't find anyone in the store. Security tapes were reviewed not long after, showing us a man in a dark jacket entering the building through a side door that had been left unlocked.
wow.
He clearly spotted me early on and stayed hidden until I went on break. Then he walked around aimlessly.
That was Bro's butthole face.
He didn't steal or break anything. He just went down the aisles and looked at the shelves. But the creepiest and most horrifying part was when I entered the office and waited for the police. The man came up to and
What is
stood
Bro's
outside
face?
the office door, waiting for several minutes as he stared at the doorknob like he was preparing for me to come out. Luckily, he decided to walk away a few minutes later and exited the store. No more footage of him was seen after that. The man never came back, and as far as I was told, he was never found. What he was doing that night is still uncertain, and it will likely remain as an eerie uncertainty for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Dang, the first and the third one were kind of, I don't know, it's like a, the only way I could put it, hold on. The only way I could have put the first and the third animation into words is like a bun, tomato, lettuce, cheese, tomato, lettuce, cheese, and bun put together. It has a foundation, but it just doesn't have the meats. It doesn't have the juicy, greasy, all really bad for you meats. But that second one though, my lord, it had two buns on it, or two burgers on it. It was so good. I actually loved it so much. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna cat fool glaze. I loved it, but this is the end. Close my eyes and count from 10. I will be giving this to you. For my one viewer that actually watches this video, I will be giving this to you. I want you to keep it. I don't want you to eat it. I want you to keep it for next time we meet. Okay? Okay? Thank you. Definitely didn't just drop that behind my laptop. Alright. This is G-Bye, my one viewer friend. Please invite your friends, if you have any, because I sure don't, to come watch.